Hey everyone. Hello. I was going to say, it's weird. I always say good morning, but it's because I'm used to doing morning things, so I've got to say good afternoon, but that's a weird thing to say. So, g'day, hello, how you doing? Big shout out to all of you in Sydney. It's still a drag, yeah. And we've got to do our best to brighten our day every single day that we're in lockdown and do something that we love and something that gives us a bit of joy, whether you're working or not working, whatever it is. Hopefully we can all find something nice to do just for a little while every day. And this is my thing. I love nothing more than standing here with all of you joining me and cooking together. It is just gives me, and this is a word that's Yiddish, which is the language my grandfather spoke, and the word is nachas. It gives me nachas, which is great joy to stand here with all of you. So welcome everyone. We're going to cook today a beautiful, simple and quick cinnamon swirl cake, and this recipe came to us for our second book, The Feast Goes On, which is this one, from Varda Goodman, who is a friend now, but she was a friend of a friend, and she used to make this amazing, and still does, cinnamon cake that she was really, really well known for. And the recipe came to us and had in it as an ingredient a packet of vanilla pudding mix, Osem brand vanilla pudding mix. And we sort of thought, no, we can't have a cake with pudding mix in it. Like, really, can we? And we tried it, and it was so amazing. I actually went to Varda's house and made it. She made it with me, and it was an incredible cake. And then we tried it without the pudding mix, and it just wasn't quite the same. So the recipe is in the book, in the second book, with pudding mix. But now in these times when we can't all get to the shops and we can't all run out and get something every minute, and pudding mix might be hard to find online, this is an option B, okay? Is it as great as with the pudding mix? You know what? Probably not. Maybe the pudding mix is a 10 out of 10 and this is a 9. But I'm happy with a cake that's a 9 out of 10. It's a quick cake, it's a good cake, and I've substituted cornflour and vanilla for pudding mix. And when you look at the ingredients on the pudding mix pack, it's pretty much cornflour, vanilla, and artificial stuff. So maybe it's a better thing, or the same anyway. All right, enough about that. Let's go through what we're going to need today. Firstly, your tin. We've halved the recipe in the book because many of us are in lockdown, don't want a whole cake. A loaf tin is perfect for this time. So I'm using what I call the small loaf tin. I measured it this morning because someone asked me. It's about 19 centimetres by 9 centimetres. I measure my tins always at the base, not at the top. So this is a small loaf tin, or medium. That's what I'm using. You could just butter it or grease it, but I find sometimes because of the cinnamon and the sugar that's in the swirl, it does stick to the bottom. So what we're going to do is we're going to grease it with butter, and then we're going to line just the base of it because I do want the edges and the sides to cook straight onto the hot pan. It helps them give a bit of crispness to the crumb. Corn flour, yes, same as cornstarch. It's exactly what we're using, corn flour or cornstarch. Okay, so I'm taking a knob of butter. I always keep a block of butter out in the kitchen and a block of butter in the fridge, because if I want to bake a cake and I need room temperature butter, it's always there. So just use a paper towel or some baking paper and just smear the butter on all sides, edges, inside, base of your pan, okay? And don't worry about being too generous with the butter, okay? No worries there. The beauty about this cake, and we'll run through the ingredients in a minute, is that if you want a dairy-free cake, and I know a lot of you, particularly those who keep kosher, want to make a cake that doesn't have dairy in it to eat with a meat meal, you can put margarine instead of the butter in the swirl, and the rest of the cake is dairy-free, in which case I would not grease it with butter, I would grease it with margarine or oil. So we have greased the sides and the base, and now I'm going to get a little piece of baking paper, and I just want to cover the bottom. So I'm just going to eyeball it. Probably about that size. Yep, about that big. I'm just going to tear off the end so that we've got a piece of paper that's pretty much the size of the base. And remember that baking paper has a natural curl because of the way it's on the roll. So always make sure your curl is leaning into your tin. Otherwise it's going to tend to flip up and you may put the batter in and it will go underneath, and you know what I mean. So the curl is going down, so I'm putting it there into the base of the tin. It's going to stick on the butter anyway, so it's fine. And just smooth it out. Okay, that's it. Tin done. Okay, there are 2 steps to this cake. There is the swirl and there is the cake batter. Let's run through all the ingredients and what we'll need before we start. Firstly, for the swirl, you're going to need 25 or 30 grams of butter. It's like a heaped tablespoon, or about 5 teaspoons of butter or margarine if you want it dairy free. We've got 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon. I love it. I always smell cinnamon and vanilla every time I pick it up, talk about it, measure it. I don't know about you, but I just love the smell of these fragrant things. And brown sugar, we have got 2 tablespoons or 40 grams of brown sugar, okay? Those 3 things are going to be melted together, which we will do in a minute. Come back to that. Let's talk about the cake ingredients. Okay, we start off with 115 grams or 3/4 cup of self-raising flour, 40 grams or 2 tablespoons of cornflour. We've got 150 grams or 2/3 cup of caster sugar or white sugar. I have got 90 mils, which is a third of a cup plus 2 teaspoons of oil. And I am using grapeseed oil. This is my everyday brand that I use for things when I don't want olive oil. I use this brand, Azalea, from the supermarket. I don't like the other brand, but I really like this one. Light or dark brown sugar, doesn't matter. Whatever you've got is fine. And then we've got 2 eggs and 1/4 cup of either orange juice or milk or even apple juice. Obviously, if you're making it dairy free, you're not going to use the milk. Orange juice works fine if you've got oranges, and apple juice also is good. So, and then some vanilla. Okay, so we've got flour, sugar, eggs, oil, milk, and vanilla. And then for the swirl, we have butter, cinnamon, and sugar. And that's all we're going to need. You'll need a mixing bowl. I'm using this one so you can see what's in it. And you can do this just with a whisk and a spatula if you want. You can also do it in your stand mixer, and you can also do it with a handheld, which I'm going to do today. I was going to do it by hand, and I'm just feeling a bit lazy. Sorry, so I'm going to do it with this. So if you've got one of these, it does make the job a bit easier. Okay, so someone's asked, is maizena corn flour? I don't think so. I think maizena might be polenta. Am I wrong? Can someone tell Shazza Chapeeks, please, is maizena, which I think is a South African thing, corn flour or not? I don't know the answer. Hopefully someone out there does. Okay, let's start. You can make your swirl in either a little saucepan like this or in a small bowl or jug that you're going to put in the microwave. We need to heat the ingredients together. I'm going to do it in the microwave so I don't have to go back and forth to the microwave. Okay, so Marcel, hi Marcel, says that it is, maizena is corn flour in South Africa. Thank you, Marcel, that's great to know. So maizena is corn flour. Okay, Karen, how much caster sugar? It is 150 grams or 2/3 cup of caster sugar. So into a little saucepan or your microwave bowl, I'm going to put all the ingredients. I'm going to put for the swirl, the cinnamon, the sugar, and the butter. Now, either turn your stove on now. See, they're just all in there like that. I'm going to turn my stove on. And I'm going to put it on a medium heat till it starts to melt. The butter's going to start to melt and the sugar's going to start to dissolve. Don't worry with this, because with brown sugar, and of course you've got the cinnamon grains, it's not going to be a perfectly smooth mixture. That's all right, as long as it's nearly smooth and really mixed well together and melted. So that's just going to melt. I'm going to leave it there on its own. Stick it in the microwave. Start with a minute. Start with 45 seconds and see how you go. take it out, give it a stir, put it in again. Depends on your microwave, of course. Okay, shall we start the batter? This is a really simple cake. As I said, you could do it with a whisk just by hand. It doesn't need an electric mixer if you don't want to get it out. So we're putting the 2 eggs in a bowl. And we're just going to give them a bit of a whisk. The thing about, I'm going to start it with the hand held with the whisk because then I can talk to you. What I just have learnt over the many, many years of going to many, many cooking classes and learning from, you know, the best cooks in the world, is that if you put your sugar, if I put it into the bowl now onto my yolks and let them went away and did something else, when I would come back, the yolks would have developed these grains on the top. I think it's something to do with the proteins, and the sugar burns. It's not actually burning, but it's known as burning. And you can't get those little things out. In a cake, I don't know how much it matters, but if you're making a custard or something, it's really going to matter. So always, as a matter of course, I'm never going to leave sugar and eggs sitting together. Always give your eggs a little whisk first, like this, to break up the yolks. And then add your sugar, okay? So we've got our 2 eggs and our 2/3 of a cup of sugar in there together. Let's just go back to this. I want to show you my thing starting to sizzle a little bit. I'm just going to give it a stir. So our aim is to have a smooth melted mixture. Not fully smooth, as I said, but just smoothish. Okay? Smells delicious. Butter, sugar and cinnamon. I love it. Love it. Okay. So I'm going to turn that down to low now and let that just sit there quietly. Okay. Can you see what that looks like? Probably should have used a silver saucepan. Okay. That's already the mixture that I want it to be. Okay, it took about 30 seconds. Those of you who are doing the microwave one, give it a stir, check if it needs a little bit longer, give it a stir and check again. Okay, so I'm actually going to turn mine off now because that's ready for when I need it. Back to this. Okay, eggs and sugar whisking. If you do it with an electric mixer, you are going to get a fluffier result. And I found that it doesn't really impact the texture of the cake so much, interestingly, as long as you give it a good whisk by hand. But bear with me for 1 second. Just going to be a bit lazy. And give it a good whisk, okay? Hopefully you are all following along and you're going to have a cake in the oven. What I forgot to say, which is really essential, is put your oven on 180 degrees Celsius. That's a conventional oven temperature. It's about 350 Fahrenheit, and don't use the fan, okay? It's the temperature that you make all your cakes on. So if you've got a fan forced oven, you might go to 165 or something like that, or 160. Okay, give this another minute. Want it light and airy and smooth. Okay. It's a lovely pale yellow now. And of course it depends on what eggs you're using and how yellow the yolks are as well. Alright, I'm happy with that. I'm going to put that aside. Okay. Next thing I'm going to add is the vanilla, and I never measure it. Those who know me know I never measure it. I'm going to eyeball 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and I'm using vanilla paste. You can use extract, you can use essence, you can use whatever vanilla you have. And we are making a cinnamon swirl loaf cake today. It's a 1 bowl cake and it's just so lovely. You'll see. Okay. Next we're going to sift the flour and the corn flour together. I think this is quite important to do. Not so much to lighten as to get any lumps out and to combine. And I find that corn flour, when you put it into a batter, it sometimes lumps up. So I think it's particularly important here to give it a go in the sieve together. Okay, and I might even do it, you could do it twice if you wanted to really have it mixed fully and every lump out. But perhaps that's getting a bit obsessive, so perhaps we'll leave it at once. Okay, that's it, that'll do. Self-raising flour and corn flour, sift together. If you are using pudding mix, that can go in there at the same time. Okay, let's go. We've got our flour ready. Next we have our oil, which is going in. So I've got the eggs and the sugar whisked together till they are creamy and light. I'm going to put in the oil and whisk that through. This is 90 mils of plain flavoured oil. I'm using grapeseed. If you only have olive oil, it's best if you use lighter olive oil for this one, because you don't want any of the peppery olive oil flavour coming through in this recipe. Okay, in this cake I should say. So that's it. I'm going to put the whisk away now and get out my trusty spatula. We've finished aerating, so we just now need to fold. And my favourite tool for folding is a spatula. Okay, so now we're going to fold in the wet and the dry. And this is a pretty standard thing for a lot of cakes. You've got your egg mixture with your sugar and your fat. In this case it's oil. And now I'm going to alternate the dry and the wet. So the idea is to put in a little bit of the flour, the mixed flours, fold it through. This is where we want to be light, where we don't really want to beat the hell out of it, because we want this cake to have a very light texture. We don't want it to be tough in any way. And a little bit of the milk or orange juice, whichever liquid you're using. And just fold it through and then repeat again. And we do that, I generally do that in 2 or 3 goes for any cake. Okay, so just fold it nicely. It's such a nice therapeutic thing to do, folding. I don't know if you agree with me, but every time I get the spatula out and I'm doing something with egg whites or cake batter, it's so quiet in my house today, which is good. I've got 2 sons working at home. They're upstairs in their room and it's very, very quiet down in the kitchen. Okay, so, and I'm going to put the last lot in. So somebody just asked which pudding mix. Either the Osem or the Cottee's vanilla pudding mix from the supermarket instead of the corn flour. That's the original recipe, which gives it that special something. This is going to be pretty special too. So that's the pudding mix that we would be using if we could get our hands on it instead of the corn flour. Okay, you can see it is folding in nicely. The corn flour tends to stick to the bowl way more than regular flour, so it's a bit of an effort to get it off. Make sure you go to the bottom of your bowl, and there are a few lumps in here which I don't want, so I'm going to mix it until it has no lumps. Okay, so that's actually looking really good. Okay, batter done. Let me put this aside. So everybody hopefully is up to where I am and you have your cake batter done. Everyone, thumbs up if you can give me. So Shazza Mossy, you missed the beginning. That's cool, because what you can do is go to our IGTV at the end of this and it will be on it there. You can watch it from the beginning. All our videos from this week, particularly in this lockdown cooking time, are on IGTV, so you can catch up with all of them. I don't know which of you were with me yesterday, but we made a beautiful tomato sauce. And if you go now and if you've made it, that's great. If you want to join in tomorrow, the recipe is on IGTV and the video. And from Wednesday to Saturday this week, we're cooking recipes using that tomato sauce. So that's something to do this afternoon if you haven't done it yet. Loving all the thumbs up. I think that means that everybody is cooking along and I'm so happy. Okay. We are making a cinnamon swirl loaf cake, and I'm excited to show it to you. Okay, tin's ready. Remember, we lined the base with baking paper, we smeared butter all over it, and then we lined the base with baking paper. That's my doorbell. So what do? Boys are working, don't hear it. I've got to get my doorbell. You'll just have to bear with me for 1 second, sorry. Hello? Hi, can you just leave it at the top, please? Thanks. Bye. Sorry. think that's okay because we're in lockdown, and what else can I do, right? Yeah, Carrie gets it. What can we do? Okay, so Lana the Leak asked about where is GT? Yeah, so it's called IGTV, which is Instagram TV. And on your phone, you'll see all the different possibilities and icons on your Instagram page. And one of them, or on our Instagram page, one of them is a little TV, and click on that, and that's all our videos. That's called IGTV. Okay, tin size. It is a small to medium loaf tin. It's 19 times 9 centimeters at the bottom, which is where I measure it from. I call that a small to medium loaf tin. Okay, we've got our tin smeared with butter, lined with baking paper just at the base, and we're going to put our batter in. Just as a reminder, we've got our, now while I've been sitting here, my mixture has gone a bit cold. This is the swirl. So I'm just going to heat it for a second again because I want it to get smooth. Okay? My dogs have become very good guard dogs this week. It's so annoying. Every time the doorbell rings, they bark. They never used to. I don't know why that happened. So that's what you hear. Welcome to my house, right? No one gets the doorbell. The dogs bark all day. Anyway, okay. All right, here we go. So I'm just going to melt this together again because I want it to be liquidy, okay? And while I was making the batter, it just got a bit cold. So I'm just going to do that again quickly. So those of you who did it in the microwave, just check. You might need to put it in for 10 seconds to smooth it out again, okay? All right, that's great. Just starting to bubble. Turning that off now. The batter goes into the tin now. And it's a lovely thick batter with those specks of vanilla, which I love. Okay, and I'm using this spatula, which, as many of you know, is one of my favourite, if not my favourite kitchen tool. Hey, Jakey. Okay, so let's get every last scrap of batter out of the bowl, and it's going to look like that. Now for the swirl. Okay, so the original recipe calls in the book for putting half the batter in, then the cinnamon, and then or maybe it's 2/3 and 1/3, and then the batter. I find with that it often sinks to the bottom, which becomes the top, and it sticks, and it becomes very hard to get out of the tin. So with this one, because we were serving it this way, we're not going to flip it upside down like you do in a bundt tin, which was the original. We're going to put the swirl on the top, and then I'm going to use a fork or a knife to swirl it through. If you don't swirl it through, what will happen is you'll bake it. There's nothing wrong with this, but it will just sink to the bottom, okay? So I'm just going to pour, can you see what I'm doing? This mixture. It's a bit sludgy, but that's okay. I'm going to go back to my spatula now so I can get everything out. Okay. So you can see I've got the swirl in there just like that. And now I'm going to get a fork. I find a fork really works very well. I did one yesterday with a knife and a lot of it sunk to the bottom. And we're just swirling, okay? And if it started to sink, just bring it up over the top, okay? We're just swirling it through. We're not mixing it in completely. We're just making a swirl. Okay? That's it. That's the swirl. Done. Okay? Now, sorry, I have to do this. It's too yum not to do it. I love it. Into the oven, 180 degrees. Please check it after 30 minutes. Have a look. The way I check it, I want it to be, it's going to have a lovely mound on it. Gently put your hand on the top of the cake. If it feels like a wobble or looks like a wobble, then it's not ready yet. And if it feels like, if you can feel cake all the way up to your hand, then you know it's cooked. I want you to take it out when it is just cooked. It's a small loaf. It really shouldn't take more than 40 minutes max, but I think 35 is ideal. So aim for 35, check it at 30. That's going in the oven now, and I want to show you the one I made yesterday. All right. I wanted to show you, to be honest, I wanted to show you a whole cake. But this is what happened in my house between last night and today, is that so this is what happened. So I took it out of the oven last night, And this is what I want you to do, and please listen to this because it's a really important tip. When this cake comes out of the oven, give it a couple of minutes on the bench, then get a knife and just make sure it's not stuck on any of the insides, on the sides. Get your rack and just tip the loaf tin upside down onto the bench. I'm going to show you what I mean. Here's another one. Okay, so pretend this is it. So you take it out of the oven, it sits on the bench for a few minutes. Tip it out like that, straight away, 2 minutes after it's out of the oven. Gently lift that up, put that aside, carefully flip it over onto your rack. I want it out of the tin when it comes out of the oven, because when a cake stays in the tin, and some cakes can and it doesn't matter, you can imagine it continues to steam from the heat and the edges are going to go soft. The beauty of this cake is that when you take it out of the tin straight away, you get this lovely crispness around the edges, which just adds to it in contrast with the inside. So I made this yesterday. One of my boys, Jake, came downstairs and said, "Can I have a piece?" I said, "No, you can't, because it's for tomorrow night, tomorrow day, and I want it to look perfect." And he's begging me, "Please, can I have a piece?" He's 24, by the way, so don't feel too sorry for him. And I said, "No, you just can't, not going to cut it." So I didn't cut it. And today I was sending over some food to my father-in-law, and I thought, he'd really love a piece of cake. So I cut 2 pieces of cake for my father-in-law. And then, of course, I felt so bad that I didn't let... Jake could have had it last night. Anyway, Jake's just had a piece now. So that's my story of my cake, and that's why I've only got half a cake to show you. But you can see how it looks. You get a lovely swirl inside. It is a beautiful, simple cake that pairs with a cup of tea in the afternoon. It's just a match made in heaven. It cuts beautifully. It is really a winner of a cake. You know, cut yourself a nice, thick slice like that. It's at its peak on the day it's baked, and it is absolutely delicious. So that's it. I think I've told you all the things I could tell you about how it's going to happen when it comes out of the oven. 2 requests, please. 1, when you take a photo of your cake when it comes out in 30 minutes or however long, 35 minutes, please take a photo. Please post it on Instagram and tag Monday Morning CC so I can repost it, because I love seeing all your cakes that you've made. So Vicky Fane's saying, "Hi, this is the same recipe as the cake in the bundt tin, but it's been halved. And it's a loaf tin now. So we've changed the bundt to a loaf and we've halved the recipe. And also we're using cornflour in place of the pudding mix, because it's really hard to get to the supermarket for some of us at the moment. And the supermarket doesn't always have pudding mix. So yeah, same, just smaller. And okay, that's it. That's the cake. Unless there's anyone else who has any more questions. My second request was this. My first one was about the posting the photo, please. The second thing is, if anyone's interested in learning the art of the chiffon cake, I'm doing a proper Zoom class, which is an online event. It's a paid event through Monday Morning Cooking Club. It's on our website, which is mondaymorningcookingclub.com.au, and I'd love you to join it. It's on Sunday, the 25th of July. It's going to go for 90 minutes, and it's going to be a proper class, and we're going to make a chiffon cake from start to finish together with a batch of Dutch spice biscuits while it's in the oven. So hopefully you can join me then. But anyway, I am back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to cook the first of our 4 recipes using the essential tomato sauce that we made together yesterday. If you didn't make it yesterday and you want to join in tomorrow, you can use bought tomato pasta sauce, or you can make it. The recipe is on our Instagram, on our IGTV, and you can join in. We've got 4 fabulous cooking sessions, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 12:15, and Saturday 11:15 we're making shortcut shakshuka for breakfast. All the ingredients are going to be on, they're on our Instagram story highlights, which is up the top left circle on our page, not the very top, the next row down. Everything's there. DM me if you've got any questions. Happy to answer them. It's been sweet cooking with you today, and I'm going to sit down now with a cup of tea and bite into this delicious smelling and looking cake. Thank you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now. Mwah.